Yo. I get messages on Instagram. I get comments on YouTube of people asking the exact same questions over and over again. And I get tired of answering it on Instagram over and over again. So I'm making this video right now. And I'm going to answer the most asked questions about the web design agency business model in this video. Let's get right into it. Let's not waste any more time. First question is, what do you need to start a web design agency? You're going to need three things: a brain, the ability to speak English, and a laptop, or the ability to speak any language. You don't need anything else. As long as you're able to communicate with someone, you have a laptop so you can actually go ahead and make the mockups and use certain apps that just don't have a mobile version, like Zapier, to set up automations for your business. Of course, if you want to scale, then that's pretty much everything you need. Just watch my videos and I walk you guys through the whole process. Number two, take home profit as a web design agency owner. So the profit with this business model is like extremely freaking high. Like at the start, it'll probably be like 75, 80%. Like you'll pay someone like $100 to actually make the website, and you'll charge like $500 for a website. But after that, once you're starting to charge like $2,000 for the exact same website that you charged $500 for, you're still paying that same guy $100. He's not doing anything more. You're just charging more because you have more experience in the industry and you know exactly how to sell to the people that you're talking to. And so that goes from 20% that you're paying the guy to freaking 5% that you're paying the guy. So it becomes much, much easier. What is the best outreach method? So there are different ways to do outreach, and there's not really a best one. The most direct way you can reach a cold lead is probably cold calling, but like it really depends on a lot of different factors. Like if you're someone who's super shy, you just really can't communicate whatsoever, then probably Instagram DMs or Facebook DMs, Facebook outreach would be better for you. Like I have a student who joined, and within their first month, they made $5,000, and that was purely off of cold Instagram DMs. And that's just because that student was super good at cold Instagram DMs. But if they were to go into cold calling at first, they probably wouldn't have the same success. And that's just them. I personally am not as good as in cold DMs as I am in cold calling. So it depends on a couple factors. But overall, I would say cold calling is the best. And of course, meeting up clients in real life will be better. So what I want you to do in order to find the best client acquisition method for you is I want you to do both. So do cold calling, do cold Instagram DMs, do cold emailing, and then gather data. Okay, it takes me X amount of time to do X, Y, Z. And I book this many meetings when I do X, Y, Z. So maybe I should invest more time into X because that's a better time investment. I get more meetings out of that. Or maybe it's Y, or maybe it's Z. You get what I mean? It is pretty simple. Number four, how long have you been running your web design agency for, and have you ever wanted to quit? I've been running my web design agency for a little over 3 years now. And did I want to quit? Like 100%. For the first 2 years, I was working super hard. When I dropped out of school, my dad got super, super mad. I was literally crying on the phone when I was talking to him when I dropped out of school, and he was very angry at me. And yeah, I did want to quit, and I didn't always have the result that I wanted to have, but it's all part of the game. Now I'm here. Now I'm super happy. Now I would consider myself not successful, but pretty good at the web design business model in general. So yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, I didn't want to quit, and it did take me a lot of hustle. How much money do you need to start a web design agency? So $0. All you're gonna need is time. You don't really need any money to start, but I guess if you're working a job and you're working 9 to 5 and you need a little bit of rest, you need 8 hours to perform 100% at your job, for example, you might have to cut off like an hour or two so you can do a little bit of outreach so you can reach clients. But in terms of money invested, like you don't really need anything. You're just gonna need some time, and time is more valuable than money, so be ready to invest it. And of course, the fastest way to reach your goals is to get mentorship from someone, or like to buy a course or something like that. And that's probably like, that's going to cost you like maybe a couple $1,000, but is it worth it? Like, yeah, 100%. Like literally last month, I think it was last month or the month before that, I literally spent $10,000 on courses and mentorships just in order for me to actually scale, and just overall consultations just for me to reach out. Matter of fact, I spent over $1,000 in the last 2 days for cold emailing strategies, consultations, domains so I can cold email, mailboxes so I can cold email, platforms like instantly and all that stuff. So yes, if you want to scale, like you're definitely going to have to invest some money. Is running a web design agency too saturated? Well, if you're running a web design agency where you're selling the design, like, yeah, 100% is saturated because there's billions of people, because there's freaking so many people that are selling designs. But you don't want to sell designs. You want to be able to sell results. So when you reach out to a client and you tell him, like, hey, I'm going to make you a beautiful website, like, what does that mean? Beautiful is subjective, right? What you want is you want to sell a high converting website, and that's what brings the money in, because when you run ads, and then leads are coming in through the website with SEO and stuff like that, and you're able to get the client more money, that will never be saturated, because every single business needs more money. Every single business needs more clients. Every single business needs a better online presence. It doesn't matter how you go about it, as long as you're able to sell results, something that the client can actually see and be like, okay, I'm getting a return on investment, it will never be saturated. So is the web design agency business model saturated? Yes, absolutely. Is you being able to provide results and money to your clients saturated? No, never. Everybody needs money. What do you think of running other business models? So there are a million ways to make $1 million. You can make $1 million by selling freaking black t-shirts if you want. You know what I mean? And let's say you make $10 profit per each. You're going to have to sell a lot of freaking t-shirts to make $1 million. So do you want to go with the hard way, or do you want to go with the easy way? If you can do, example, nothing against traders, but if you have to learn for 2 years before you actually become profitable in something, then probably don't go with that way, because if you can work for 2 years, during those 2 years, be profitable immediately, because you're investing your time learning and making more money gradually. Why would you go with another way of making money that's just harder? If you can make a couple cold calls, let's say you make like 100 cold calls a day for 3 days, and you're pretty much guaranteed to get at least one client that's going to pay you $500, like why wouldn't you go with that way? So what do I think about other business models? Everything is legit. Mostly everything is legit. But do you want to go with the hard way, or do you want to go with the easy way? That's all it's about. So who pays for the hosting? So either the client's going to pay for the hosting, or you pay for the hosting, obviously, right? But I usually try to get all my clients on my hosting. That way I'm the one handling everything. I don't have to deal with the hassle of like transferring over the website or like going back and forth with them. And most clients are not really technical, which is why they're even hiring you to make a website. But I try to deal with the hosting. That way I can always upsell them on like maintenance, or like I'm making a little bit of profit. It's not much. Let's say I'm making like $30 a month in profit in terms of hosting specifically. It's still $30 a month, right? I get 100 clients. I'm profiting $3,000 a month additionally. So do I ever reject web design clients? At this point, I'm not charging anything under $2,000. Like maybe sometimes I'll go to like $1,500. Anyone who has under that, I don't want to work with them. So for example, today, I get most of my clients through like referrals, and one of my friends reached out to me and he's like, yeah, hey bro, would you be able to make a website for $500? I'm like, not really. So I referred him over to one of my students, and that student made $500. So yeah, like I do reject some clients, but I just refer them over to some of my students, and they're happy with $500. I just personally wouldn't work with that amount. And my students who take $500 are usually new students, so that lets them like get a little bit more motivated. Can you start a web design agency if you're under 18? 100%. I started while I was in college while working 2 jobs at the same time. So yes, 100%. At least in Canada and in America for sure. I don't know about Europe. I don't know how the rules are over there. But I've had some students that are like, oh, I need to turn 18 before I open up a business. Like I don't know, to be honest. Like I didn't register my business until I made at least $20,000, because you just don't need to. So in Canada, there's something called e-transfer, and they can pretty much just send you money. I guess it's kind of like Cash App or Zelle, whatever. They can just send you money, and then one thing you always want to do is you just want to make sure you always send them an invoice over to the client so that they can write it off. But can you start under 18? Like, yeah, 100%. I started at 17. So how do you add recurring revenue to your agency? You can always upsell. So I make recurring revenue a little bit from maintenance and hosting and domain fees. So I charge $150 a month. That's for everything together. You can start off by charging like $50 a month, and you'll probably profit like $20, $30 a month-ish. And then, of course, what we do is we use web design as a way to get in the door, and then later on we upsell them on recurring services like marketing, AI automation, AI agents, whatever you want. I've never offered any type of like AI automation, but we just use web design to get in the door. Once they trust us, after that, that's when we upsell them later. So you can pretty much upsell anything you want, and that's how you generate recurring revenue with your agency. Do you use contracts for your clients? I never use contracts ever. It's just not necessary when you're selling websites for like $2, $3, $4, $5,000. Clients don't usually ask for contracts, but once you're selling a little bit more high ticket, I'm assuming like $15,000 websites, which I'm going to start selling pretty soon. I'm going to try it out. They probably ask for some type of contract. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, do I ask for contracts or do I make contracts every time I sign a client? Absolutely not. I just made 2 contracts in my life. The best niche for the web design agency business model. So like I said, like there's a million ways to make $1 million. There's a million different niches and all of them work. Really the only thing you want to focus on is high ticket niches. And it really depends. Like, do you want to sell multiple websites for super cheap and you really want to have it fully automated? Like you sell websites for $500 and then pretty much all the client does is fill out a contact form. And since it's $500, there's not really any friction and it's super easy to sell a lot of websites and pretty much sell to everyone. So yeah, you can do that. But if you want to work with high ticket niches, then you can start charging a little bit more, like $2,000, $3,000 for websites. So like the niche doesn't really matter. It depends on what your goal is. Do you want to sell very cheap websites to everyone, or do you want to sell like expensive websites to a set number of people? But if you really don't know how to pick your niche, here's a couple. Construction, kitchen remodeling, bathroom remodeling, basement remodeling, plumbers, electricians, pretty much anything blue collar. They make a lot of money, and then you can charge them a pretty good amount. Do you still run your web design agency? Yes, absolutely. I'm not only focused on coaching. You guys know that I do coaching as well, but I'm actually more focused on my agency right now than I am focused on coaching. I'm investing a ton of time on my students, trying to make sure I provide the best results as possible, on their ass, making sure they hustle. But I'm actually trying to scale the agency more than I'm trying to scale coaching right now. Of course, I'm posting content, but like I said, I've invested like $1,000 in the last 2 days just on cold emailing itself. I'm always ready to invest my money. I'm paying for coaching, paying for mentorships, paying for masterminds. And then who knows, maybe once I scale the agency to a certain amount that I really like, I might just stop posting content and just work on my agency and only do that. Who knows? I'm not sure. Can you sign a client with no past clients? Yes, 100%. It's always better to start off for completely free, make free websites so you can make your name known within the industry or like within whatever niche you are. And then later on start charging. But can you sign like a paid client? Like, well, yes, 100%. Watch my video that I'm gonna put like maybe somewhere right here. And it's called Sign Your First AI Web Design Client. I'm gonna put it somewhere in the video right now. But yes, 100%. It's super easy actually. And you can literally start getting paid today or like the day you start or whatever. You can literally make your first $1,500 in the next 4 or 5 days if you start today. I hope this video was super useful to you guys. Always trying to provide you guys as much value as possible. So if it was useful, leave a comment, leave a like, follow me on Instagram. And as always, I'll see you later.